This is BSS Sports.
Fires to the end zone. It's shot. It's Greg Lewis. Touchdown.
Brooks with one. Lets it fly at the horn. It's gone.
Here's Crosby with a burst of speed up the middle. Gets open and scores.
A grand slam for A-Rod.
Pure genius from David Beckham.
That's it. Thierry Henry with a bullet.
With Thomas Brooks, Steve Shields, and Trevor Struthers. Only on 91X.
Monday, February 22nd, another episode of BSS Sports. My name is Steven Schill, and I have Trevor Struthers with me today. Trevor, how are you doing?
I am fantastic, and I'm pretty sure you just looked at the calendar to make sure you got the date right.
I definitely did. Thank you for pointing that out. Now, I want to start off with talking about the Edmonton Oilers because I watched the game the other night, and yes, we all know they're really young, and there's not a whole lot of older people to help with their backbone and, progressing the players. And just in general, it doesn't really seem like the Oilers are going anywhere. They've had numerous amounts of first overall picks, all forwards. Do you think that Edmonton needs to either start drafting defensively or start trading their first overalls who haven't exactly panned out for defensive players?
They maybe could do that, and obviously talk has been about that. They got a nice defenseman in Darnell Nurse that will be on the – actually, I think he's already playing for them now, actually. Yeah, he is. He's already playing in the NHL now, right? So, that's a guy that's going to be around for a long time on the back end. And Justin Schultz isn't really that bad, although he's kind of up there with like Hall and Eberle when it comes to the age, kind of the more upper aged of the core. It's an interesting idea to think about. It's almost who would you do? Definitely if they win the lottery and draft Austin Matthews, this year, they should probably look at moving somebody, probably not Connor McDavid. Although I wonder what the heck you could get for Connor McDavid. They have Connor McDavid. They have a lot of these pieces. You think it should flow offensively. It doesn't really seem to be that way. And the simple fact that I have on the Oilers is that, they still need a number one goaltender. And when they get that, everything will start to flow. Then you can really build your blue line, change what you need to change. And the forward group, depending on how much they'd have to take from that, their forward group right now I think is pretty solid.
It's a pretty interesting argument that you made there. What could you actually get for McDavid? There's almost endless possibilities. Now, you brought up Austin Matthews there, and I kind of feel that last year with the draft, you have Jack Eichel and Connor McDavid. Now, obviously, Connor McDavid is the more highly touted player, but with Jack Eichel, you definitely were getting a bang for your buck in that sense. Now, for this year, after Austin Matthews, it seems like things are kind of falling off the charts, and it's not exactly the upper echelon of players. And there's a big difference in comparison between the first and second overall draft pick. Do you got an opinion on that?
Well, yeah, Austin Matthews is just so far ahead of the game in the sense of he was days away from being able to be in last year's draft. So he has kind of that advantage in the sense that he's probably older than like everybody else in this draft. And the fact that he's playing professional hockey in Switzerland, which nobody else in this draft can claim, I'm pretty sure, unless there's maybe some Swiss players. But nobody to that level of talent. There are some interesting guys, and the D thing is interesting with a guy like a Sean Day, and you have the Jacob Chikrin and Sarnia. Those are a couple solid D guys that will go in the first round and probably pretty early in that first round. But, by no means do you have Connor McDavid followed by Jack Eichel. You don't have that. There's the drop-off after the one pick, and that's why this lottery is so big this year.
I didn't really know how to say Chikrin, but now I know. I appreciate you letting me know.
I think that's how you say it.
Now, on the topic of defense, we got to go over to Toronto and then over to Ottawa. We saw Dion Phaneuf get traded. Is one of probably top 10 of this century of the weirdest trades that will pop up on your phone for just the fact that it was Dion Phaneuf, the captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs, going to their essentially crosstown rival, Ottawa Senators. When you saw that trade, being a Senators fan, were you happy or were you like, what in the world is this?
Well, when any team makes a trade with the rival, there's always kind of mixed feelings no matter what you're kind of getting in return. It's always like, oh, I hate that team. I hate, this is the guy that was the captain of one of the rivals. And so anytime you kind of you trade for the captain of an opposing rival, there's going to be something there. The real interesting thing about this trade was the fact that it came from out of nowhere. I was watching Twitter because, yes, I do that when I'm bored. I just watch sometime tweets that appear. You see a tweet from Bob McKenzie or Darren Dreger or both of them. They're both kind of tweeting about the possibility that Dion Phaneuf could be moved before the deadline. And then that was followed up with Ottawa showing interest in Phaneuf. And then that was followed up by, I think the next one right after that may have been the Sens communications Twitter account announcing that they have a trade to announce. And then from there, it just kind of built. And as a Sens fan watching that, the one thing I heard after they had acquired Dion Phaneuf, right when I heard they acquired Dion Phaneuf, I heard it was a 9-player trade. And the first thing you think about is who the heck did we give up for this guy? And so you kind of go through the list, and after what you see what we gave up, what the Sens gave up, it wasn't anything too spectacular. Milan McCulloch's a guy that is hurt a lot.
Tobias Lindbergh, cough, cough, the Oshawa General, the Memorial Cup champion, Tobias Lindbergh.
I got your Tobias Lindbergh plug in there now for you. But, I mean, the guys that they gave up, you have, like I mentioned, McCulloch. He's a guy that could potentially, in the Leafs anyways, he could play in their top 6. I mean, I think Colin Greening is. And that's another guy in the trade, Colin Greening, where it's like, this is a guy that was in the minors all year. He's a big contract the Sens wanted to get rid of. That's the thing. They dumped 2 contracts here. They dumped Cowan's contract that they wanted to get rid of. That was a guy that was a healthy scratch. And like I said, Colin Greening was in the minors. He was on a one-way deal, so they're paying him the full contract. It was like $3 million a year or something like that. Now, the thing that I heard about this, though, that people were countering with is Phaneuf is under contract for about $7 million a year for like the next 5 years or something like that. I don't have the numbers in front of me.
With that being said, though, sorry to cut you off, but who do you think won that trade, though? With all these contracts being flip-flopped, is it better that Toronto got rid of Dion, or is it better, like, is it a money thing, or is it kind of like a personality
Well, it's
thing?
hard to tell straight out who won the trade, and that's why I'm breaking down almost every aspect of this trade, because I think both teams got what they wanted. The Leafs wanted to get rid of Phaneuf. There was no doubt about that. It was a contract that, I mean, the Leafs can pay guys a bunch of money. I mean, they're doing that with their head coach, for crying out loud. But, I mean, so that's not an issue. But when rebuilding, that's a piece that you feel like you had to get rid of and move on. And they did that, and they opened up some cap space, and now they don't have that contract to worry about. I'm a little surprised the Sens took on the whole contract, but that's a bit of a different thing. The thing is, they take on almost nothing in that trade except for the possibility of Tobias Lindbergh being something, and it seemed like so far that he could potentially be something. He had a bit of a slow start to his pro career in Binghamton down in the AHL, but with a good Marlies team, I mean, Binghamton's been pretty bad this year. With the Marlies, that's a good team looking to try to win it all down there in the AHL, and he could potentially do a lot of good things for the Marlies moving forward and eventually the Maple Leafs.
Well, he gets paired up with Stephen DeRoche of the Generals for that Memorial Cup squad as well in Maple Leaf territory. Now, talking about a trade that happened a long time ago, Evander Kane going to Buffalo. And then we find out this guy misses practice, and the issue is dealt with internally. How dumb is Evander Kane?
He just seems like, and not to the same extreme level, but I guess he's the closest thing you have to Johnny Football, Johnny Manziel in the NHL. And I almost feel like weekly we're bringing up Johnny Manziel, so I had to get that in there. But, I mean, that's essentially what this seems like. This seems like a guy that's too immature to play in in a professional league like the NFL or the NHL. And so, I mean, that's what this pretty much comes off as. I mean, this is a guy that once had that photo of like him holding like money up to his ear like a phone or something. I can't remember it completely during the lockout, and that wasn't taken too kindly. And then, I mean, this was just screamed immaturity. At least if you're going to the NBA All-Star game, maybe, fly back overnight in some sort of like private jet or something so you make practice. It's just, it seems completely immature on his part to do what he did and miss practice to take in some sort of fun event.
Now, with Johnny Football, there's this argument that, it could be alcohol involved or some other thing. But with Evander Kane, I feel it's completely attitude related.
Well, I could argue the stuff going on with Johnny Manziel might be that's kind of his attitude and the way he wants to kind of do things. That's very much, I think, the case with Evander Kane as well. It's the attitude. It's the way he wants to do things. And, somebody has to straighten him out. And to be honest, I don't know if Dan Biles is the kind of coach to straighten guys out. Maybe they should hire John Tortorella for that. But they could definitely get they definitely need to get Evander Kane straightened out. I mean, he's a great hockey player, but it's the off-ice stuff that's kind of, you got to get that dealt with.
Maybe he wants to go to Toronto. Maybe we could see Evander Kane in a Maple Leafs uniform, and then they'd have one heck of a season. Maybe the Maple Leafs could be an Arizona Coyote next year.
Well, I can tell you that Evander Kane in the media in Toronto, that would be quite the interaction.
Everything would be on him like a microscope. All right, so the NBA All-Star Game. Did you watch the dunk contest?
Oh, heck yeah, I did.
Okay, now, Zach LaVine, the defending champion, against Aaron Gordon of the Orlando Magic. Now, in my personal opinion, Aaron Gordon should have won that. I don't know what in the world these judges were thinking. I hated the judges. Shaquille O'Neal needs to get out of town. I hate him on TV. I hate him as a judge. I don't even like him as a person. And apparently now he's getting a statue or something like that, or even if he already has one. It doesn't matter. I'm just not a fan of Shaquille O'Neal. And all the judges, they started off too high, because they gave the first guy, I think 8 or 9 across the board. So you set the bar high. You can't go any higher from that when it was kind of a weak dunk in the first place. And then Zach LaVine wins off a dunk that was really good, but Aaron Gordon progressively continued to cross boundaries where Zach LaVine had 1 or 2 that were really good, but then wasn't as able to keep your interest, at least in my opinion. Now, who did you like in that dunk contest? And please don't say Andre Drummond.
Well, I can't just. Well, I mean, I to be honest, I don't even know the name of the guy, but the guy that couldn't nail that second dunk. Imagine if I said his name, Andre Drummond. I'm just going to touch on that for a second. He's not a flashy dunker. That's just where his disconnect is when it comes to the dunk contest. Dude can dunk forever, but he cannot do a flashy dunk to save his life.
Why was he there then? Because I'm trying to I get it. Okay, unless he's doing something like jumping over a car, maybe that would have worked, but he didn't do anything.
I don't know why he was in there. To be honest, I don't know how well this would have gone, but I would have made an argument for Vince Carter to be there just because, the former Raptor and what he's done in the dunk contest in the past. However, that could have been an absolute train wreck. Why
wasn't Dwayne Casey Look, I know we're going off trains here, but why wasn't Dwayne Casey the coach? Look, I get it. The Cavaliers fire Blant, and then they hire the Lou guy. Names are slipping my mind. But why do they give the guy that's done virtually nothing a spot as the head coach for an all-star game when the game's in Toronto? Toronto's second place. This is why I want to go into PR. These people don't know what they're doing.
I don't know how to answer that question, but trying to rein things back in and bringing it back to the dunk contest, what I will say about the Aaron Gordon dunk, and I'm not good with dunk names. I don't know what to call his dunk, but the dunk where he went underneath both legs while jumping over the mascot, essentially a sit-up in the air. I can hardly
do flying couch potato.
I can hardly do sit-ups on the ground. So I mean, it's all hail this guy that can pull off. That's the best dunk that I've ever seen, and I think he should have won it on that dunk. The fact that it continued a little bit longer and LaVine ended up eventually winning it, I didn't like that.
The thing that I didn't get is Aaron Gordon did that dunk and then Zach LaVine went and they marked Zach LaVine's dunk on the same level as that. That was a farce. That was a cruel sentence that should not have happened because it didn't make any sense. That dunk was not on the same level as Aaron Gordon's.
Well, I think it goes back to almost with how high the bar was set almost, and you brought up that point. When the bar is set high, and I mean, I almost feel like the judges were like, okay, we'll just keep giving these guys 10s and let them dunk all night. I almost feel like it got to that point at one point with the dunk off because they were really killing it. But LaVine, I mean, it took me a while when he first did this. I almost didn't know what was so spectacular about the dunk that he did where he left off at where he started his jump from the foul line. It took me a minute to realize, wait, that's what he did. And that's kind of his thing, and he stuck with that too throughout the dunk contest. But when you have a dunk as flashy and as good looking as the one Gordon did that should have ended it, I mean, that's what should have won the dunk contest. And going back to what you said about Shaq, by the way, I will agree with one thing that Shaq did, and that's if you don't nail it on the first try, you don't deserve a 10.
Fair enough. That is a solid point. Now, what I want to talk about, the skills competition of the All-Star game. Sure, you have the dunking, sure, you have the 3 points, and you have the obstacle course, but it just seems aggressively short. I know they did the thing with Kevin Hart, and every time Kevin Hart does an appearance, I progressively find him less funny because it just seems like it's all forced. But what can they do to make the All-Star game longer?
I don't know. I mean, because, you compare that. The NHL one happened recently, and we're in Canada, so of course we had interest in that. But, I mean, that's like, how many events? It almost feels like 6, like double the amount the NBA has. But it's almost like, if for the NBA contest, what could they add more to? And with that being said, the NBA one, although there's only 3 events, that might be the most entertaining. Not necessarily for the obstacle course thing, which I missed. But, I mean, I saw the 3-point contest, and I saw the dunk contest, and those are maybe the 2 best things going. I mean, they even talked about on the broadcast of having the 3-point contest replace the dunk contest as the last thing because that's so exciting. And then, of course, we saw one of the best dunk contests of all time. And so the NBA skills competition almost feels like it's at a pretty good high right now. And, I mean, it may only be 3 events, but it's entertaining.
And if you haven't heard, in baseball news, all the players, catchers, and stuff, they're all together now, and there's possibly designated hitting coming in the National League. And final topic, real quickly, Pablo Sandoval coming back to camp saying, well, nobody asked me to lose any weight. He looks larger than life. If he doesn't play as a designated hitter, do you think that he's going to lack extremely defensively?
Well, it's interesting, right? Because a lot of playing third base, and that's the position he's known for playing, is reaction time, right? And so you got to have the quick reaction time. And it's, how much does that weight mess up the reaction time? With that being said, Pablo Sandoval's never been a small guy, right? He's always been a large guy. And so that's just part of him. He probably should slim down, but, I mean, they still have David Ortiz for this year, right? So he's not going to be DHing. He's going to have to play third base or maybe even first base, wherever they can put him, and he's going to have to be able to deal with what he's got.
We go from the Kobe Bryant retirement to the David Big Papi Ortiz retirement. That's it for this episode of BSS Sports. I'm Stephen Schill with Trevor Struthers. Make sure to check us out on YouTube at BSS Productions. We are archiving on there. Give us a like on Facebook, BSS Sports, as well as on Twitter. We'll see you next Monday at 2.